bit of the background of Dr. Jawad Alzeer. His education is in competence in organic chemistry, medicinal chemistry, nucleic acid chemistry, and natural products. He's got a PhD from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, from the MSc from the University of Karachi, Pakistan, and also his professional experience are in academic and industrial teaching, organic synthesis, drug design, reference compounds, gene therapy, cancer research, and medicinal plants. Can we now pass the mic to Dr. Jawad Alzeer.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I am a scientist, but I thought I would like to look like Bilal for a short time. Hopefully I'll be able to woke you up once again, because it's a tough time. It's almost the end of the day, and I will try to be an entertainer, not as a scientist. And let's see if I can, or I still have the capacity and the qualification to do this type of advertisement. To share with you, I thought maybe because we have to talk about science, so let's try to share certain thoughts, concepts together with regard to halal certifications, halal consumptions, and let's see if science could help us or assist us in clarifying those thoughts and try to deal with those issues. I always like, before I start to discuss, and just to remind you, when we talk about halal, it's never restricted to what we eat and drink. It's always extended to what we see, hear, and wear and talk and so forth. But it's fine today, since we are discussing issue with regard to food and health, to restrict our talk to what we drink and what we eat. Indeed, if we try to go a little bit back to the past, life was very simple. It was very close to black and white, although we used to look very poor, but really very healthy. Halal issue was very similar, not so complicated. It was very easy for us to determine if this stuff is potentially halal or not. And I remember a few years ago, if any Swiss company is interested in halal certificate, they used to call Imam of the mosque. And Imam used to ask just two questions. Would you think your product contain pork? Would you think your product contain alcohol? And if Imam received twice no audit is done, and certificate is issued, and most of the conversation was done by phone. Now, I would think Imam, although he is qualified from Sharia point of view, but he's not yet any more qualified to issue halal certificate on his own, because life is getting more complex. It's not anymore black and white. It's a multicolor. And most of the product which is around us, it's also not very healthy. We have to take all these into consideration. So what's happened exactly? Industry, particularly food processing companies, they try to utilize basic science. Why? They want to achieve two goals. Number one, how to make their product irresistible. Second, how to make it highly profitable. And of course, if you want to focus on maximizing your profit, certain values will be lost. Now, luckily, the government realized there is a gap. So they try to fill this gap by tough rules and regulations. They have to take care. So they impose on the industry that they have to take care of the human's health. They should also think of the environment. So their product should be biodegradable in this way and compatible with the environment. Anyway, that was a very good start. And indeed, what's happened, at that time, the industry realized since profit or maximizing profit is a driving force for the industry, they decided to include the human or the lifestyle. In this way, they took into consideration the vegetarian, the kosher, the halal. And I think at this point where Muslims start getting part of halal business, and this is the time where basically Muslim scientists try to utilize their skill to support halal concept at the level of universities, industries, and governments. Now, as we said, halal is not anymore black and white. It's not easy to say it is halal. It is easy to say it is not halal. There's so many issues. We already heard a lot of issues today, this morning, and maybe one of the most controversial issues is gelatin, and you know that gelatin mostly derived from animal. And I tell you, the best quality of gelatin comes from pork. Now, this is a big concern for Muslims. Question is it also a big concern for Muslims if gelatin is derived from insects? And how about fish and caviar? They are both halal in nature. Do we have to worry about the food which is given to feed this type of fish? Because we know that many farms, they use pork, they use worms to feed their fish. If we have to worry, we have to find tools to discover the purity of this fish. There's so many companies, they feel proud, very proud, that what they offer you from A to Z is made from nature. Even the the coloring agents, the red color, which is derived from cochineal squills, it's also derived from nature. Do we have to concern about these points or not? These are one of the important issues I think we have already discussed, and we will keep on discussing as long as we don't have a clear answer. Now, we always have a problem with this lubricants. Lubricants is a very dense fat. Dense fats, best quality comes from animal. And when we talk animal, most potentially would be pork. We already heard about enzymes like rennet enzymes, which is used for making cheese. And those enzymes mostly derive from the stomach membrane, again, animal. How about those additives? You go to industry, you found always sometimes hundreds of additives. Now let's take a few examples like sodium or potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate is basically a salt. Salts just remind us like potassium chloride. By nature, it is halal. But the question, indeed the best quality of potassium nitrate comes from human water waste. It is a najis. Would you think this potassium nitrate, which derived from najis, would remain najis or could be used as a halal salt? That's an issue. We need to have a clear answer. Now, stearic acid, it's also fat, but this fat is very interesting. It could be derived from mostly animals, but I noticed these fats could also be derived from dogs and cats. So we are always, all the time, focused on pork, but we forget in our list that we should also include dogs and cats. We already heard about cysteine, and it's mostly derived from human hair or animal hair. Anyway, that's not all the story. If you go to industry, checking the ingredient is not enough, because there is always a problem, which is called this cross-contamination. Cross-contaminations means that you have to look at all the handling process from A to Z. Storage, packing, etc. Anyway, I thought maybe let's give a little bit more focus on one of those issues and see how one could combine science with our Islamic background to come up with a certain solutions or conclusions. Now, we know that gelatin is one of those most popular material which is used in industry, pharmaceutical, in cosmetics, and I think one of the interesting source of gelatin, you can find it in jelly. There is one company in Germany called Haribo. This company, when BSI spread in Europe, this mad cow disease, they issued a statement. They said that we feel proud that our gelatin is 100% free from cow. Well, it means that 100% is coming from pork. That was good news for the European, bad news for Muslim. And indeed, there's so many children in Europe. They're Muslims, they're still eating Haribo product, and their parents, basically, they support them. When you go and discuss with them, they always tell you, well, you know, gelatin is not anymore like the one which is in the animal. It has been changed, it went over a sort of process. So, yes, the concept of istihala. I think to understand the concept of istihala, in Arabic, istihala has two meanings. One meaning, it means impossible. The second meaning, which means transformation of material from one form to another form. Now, to avoid going into detail, I think the best is just look at an example where all scholars accept this example. Is the conversion of ethanol, which is an alcohol, to acetic acid, which is vinegar. If you look at the physical and chemical properties of acetic acid and try to compare it to ethanol, you see there is a complete change. Increase in melting point, boiling point. So there is a complete change in the physical properties. Chemically, we have two different families. One is called alcohol, and the other is called carboxylic acids. Both behavior chemically are different. So what we see here is a change, and the change is not minor. It is significant. Therefore, I would call it, it is a macro change, and macro change is compatible very well with the istihala concept. So now let's go to gelatin. Gelatin, we know, is derived from collagen. Collagen is protein. When you think of protein, you think of the structures of protein. You have the secondary and tertiary structure beside the primary structure. Now, secondary and tertiary structure, usually those structures are stabilized by hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds, they are very weak bonds. They can be easily cleaved under acidic condition, basic condition, elevated temperature. It's the same conditions which are used for making gelatin from collagen. How about the primary structure? Primary structure is just a sequence of amino acids. Now we would like to ask the question, how it is possible to convert the function of protein? It is only possible if we change the protein sequence, the amino acid sequence. An amino acid sequence is always derived by DNA. DNA sequence which goes through transcription and translation. And during gelatin production, there is no change in the amino acids. So there is a slight change in the physical properties, and most of these change is basically, it's not producing a new material, it is just losing the affinity of the protein. The protein becomes less active, that's all. And this is just, you want to compare what's happened, it's just we are losing the activity of our protein during the process of gelatin. And I would just say this process is a slow process similar to our aging process. We are getting old, but this takes many years. Gelatin is faster because we induce either acid base or temperature. So we have to push, time is very limited, but many would argue, okay, we could agree that gelatin, jelly is haram if it comes from pork, but when it comes for treatment, for medicine, it should be accepted. Why? Because, you know, somebody in the morning say that this is emergency. It could be true, but I would like to say or ask question that if you are sick and if you know that this drug is partially formulated by gelatin which derived from pork, would you think this will have an impact on your curing process or not? According to the canon of medicine, Ibn Sina, he said no. Yes, it does have an impact. In this way, if you don't believe in medicine, the curing process will be very slow. So you have to achieve that tranquility in your heart. And tranquility is always correlated to what you believe. And if the tranquility is is interrupted or disturbed, the curing process will be disturbed. All right, just quickly, of course, we have to identify always the source of those gelatins, and we need always fingerprints. And when we talk about fingerprints, we have DNA or nucleic acids, we have proteins, we have polysaccharides. There are so many papers which describe methods how to check if this gelatin is derived from pork or not. There is a possibility to look at the molecular weight by taking gelatin, treated it with enzyme, digest it, look at different markers. I think those whom they work in the lab, they know how to handle these tests. The other test where they look at DNA, not DNA extracted from a nucleus, but DNA extracted from mitochondria, and where they focus at cytochrome gene. So time is up. I will go through. Regarding the traceability, I would just say that to determine this is halal or not, you don't need to be or to have a good knowledge of Sharia. It's not enough. It's not enough to be a scientist. Really, we need a detective skills, CSI. Finally, I would just like to remind all of you with the Hadith Prophet, if you want to build civilization, you have to focus on 3 pillars: security, health, and food. And since today we are focusing on food, hopefully we will enrich one of those pillars. Thank you for the organization, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jawad Alzeer. I have to thank the secretary for helping me at the back to give the timing. I did not have to give a tinkle to any of the presenters. But I think Dr. Jonathan would agree with me that I would qualify Dr. Jawad Alzeer as a marketing scientist, entertainer. Would you agree with that? Yes, definitely. There were so many from the audience who took pictures from the slides that were given just now. Any immediate question from anybody from the floor, just in case it is still fresh? Just one question? Yes.